All right, I see a few of you back. You know, I've noticed when I tried to create the live stream earlier that I was having some difficulties with it. YouTube, I don't know if they're getting heavy traffic with live streams on a Sunday morning or exactly what's going on here, but I see some of you are back. Anyway, I don't know how much of it you heard. I'm not going to go back into it, you know, all of what I've covered, but basically to summarize, I use Eurochem products. It's thecoatingstore.com. Really good prices, excellent customer service. When you order something, they ship it within usually within 1 day, and for me, they're located in Louisiana, and I usually get it within a day or 2 days. So if I order something on Monday, I usually by Thursday have it, which works out well, and you really can't beat the prices. Anytime I've ever had an issue, they've always taken care of it. These are the color sheets for them. They have many more. This is just a few of the pearls and solids and the candies that they have. You see a couple gallons there. I've used gallons and gallons of their stuff. And then the flag there is one I painted a little while back. I was just about to show you that. This is about 3 or 4 weeks old, so it's had a chance to die back if it's going to die back. And you can see the gloss on it, you know, is really got a nice finish. And that is over, you know, candy. It's actually over metal dyes, translucent metal dyes, and you know, you can see all the grinder swirls and all that in it. And also I put black candy over it to sort of create a little more of a distressed patina effect on it. But their clear is this is the Glamour Clear, which is their high end, and it's I want to say 129 now, somewhere in that range. And then they have an inexpensive sort of a production clear that's around $100. I think it's 99, somewhere in that range. But anyway, the reason I'm talking about this is one of my viewers, Craig, who's also a friend on Facebook, had asked me to make a review of what I use. And just wanted to point out again that on all these candy paint jobs and the bare metal, because I use grinders to prep the metal and use an adhesion promoter, you can get away with not using primer. But on the opaque colors, anytime I have a paint job on a metal art piece that's opaque, I use epoxy primer as the base, and most of my opaque colors that I do on paint jobs end up being black or white. There's other variations, but usually black or white. And when I have that, I just use epoxy primer, like for example, white epoxy primer, as the primer and as the base coat. So what I'll do is I'll put 2 coats of epoxy primer down. I have cleared directly over the epoxy primer, but I've not had great results doing that because I use acetone in my epoxy to thin it out to get it to lay out really smooth and on a thin coat. But so what I do is now as I do epoxy primer, I'll let it set up for a day. I'll sand it with 1000 grit just to kind of knock it down a little bit, and then usually go back over it with 1200 grit, and then I just clear right over that. And again, because these pieces are so small, you don't really end up with you don't notice a lot of imperfections in a small metal art piece that you would like a large, you know, quarter panel on a car. You just can get away with a lot more things. And really what people look at is the glossiness of it. You know, they don't really look at, you know, like if you were looking down the panel of a vehicle, for example, looking at, you know, how straight it is. Do you see any, you know, dip-de-doos in it where poor body work was done? Or, you know, it's just not the same. So the things I can get away with on metal art, it's a lot different if you're trying to paint a car. So I'll just turn the camera around and talk to you a little bit. The bad news part of this live feed that I wanted to tell you about is really 2 things that have happened lately. One of them is my truck, the high pressure fuel pump went out on it, and I don't know if you guys know much about the 6.4 in this thing, but the high pressure fuel pump sits sort of down in the valley of the motor, and so it's a pretty intensive repair. The cab has to come off, the top part of the motor, all the crap underneath the hood. When you raise it and look at one of these, there's a ton of stuff. The turbos are up there. I mean, there's a lot that has to come off to get that thing out of there. And had Ford check it out, and they confirmed that that's what it was, and they also recommended doing the low pressure pump as well. And Ford quoted me $4,100 to do just the high pressure pump, and then it was going to be another $700 to do the low pressure pump. And I found another place. Brooks Lopez is he may follow me on YouTube. He's a friend on Facebook. He's been a long time local friend, fabricator. Recommended a guy that's about an hour and a half away, that's an independent diesel shop that works on light duty diesels, and they did it for $3,200 and did both pumps. They recommended doing both pumps as well, because if you have one or the other, you know, could cause the other to have a problem. And the low pressure pump was only $500 more while they were in there, so I just had both of them done. So that was $3,200 that I you know, had to pay on that. And then so yesterday, or a couple days ago, the paint booth guy that I rent from, I needed to go over and paint a couple of things, and he said, man, I'm gonna have to shut down here, and I'm gonna get all your stuff together, your guns and all that, and I'm gonna bring them to you. And so but you can't work here anymore, because I'm, you know, some kind of deal with his brother, and they were in partnership, and there's a big mess over there. And the last couple times I painted, it's become more and more problematic. And I kind of had a feeling at some point that would kind of run its course. So I am now without a place to paint. And fortunately, I don't have any open orders for metal art, but you know, when I don't get orders in, I just make things in advance of common things I know people are going to want. And then I'm doing some of the American flags, but in the theme of college football teams, with the season coming up, and a couple of pro teams as well. And I'm just painting those in advance, a couple of each team to be able to sell, that I know will sell, and I'll get orders in for those. But anyway, so I've kind of ratcheted up the process here on the paint booth, and even though I don't really have the money for it, guys, I have, you know, this shop, all the tools, all the equipment, and plus another issue that I'm going through on a personal level that I really don't want to get into on YouTube has drained me. I mean, it is just, you know, it is just absolutely taking me down, basically. And then to have my truck, you know, need a $3,200 repair. I was gonna do it myself. The pump was $1,100, and that's a high pressure pump, and then the low pressure pump was $500. So you know, it was about $1,600 for the parts, and then they charged me about $1,600 for the labor. And the book, I think, is 14.5 hours is what the book says on it. And when I just started researching it online, you know, with people that have tried it or whatever, they all, even Diesel Mechanics, ranked it as a 10 out of 10, you know, for somebody that has never done it. And, you know, while I've got plenty of tools, and, you know, maybe could use the gantry crane to get the cab up, and I've seen other people do it without the cab on. It just was not anything. If this was my second vehicle and I could just bring it in and work on it here and there, and, you know, get it done, you know, I probably would have taken it on to save the labor. But the fact that it's my daily driver, and I was without it for about 9 days, because it was at Ford for 3 days for them to check it out, even though I'd already kind of knew what it was, but I didn't know they were going to give me such a ridiculous quote. And then the guys that did it, they turned it around in about a week, which I guess for, you know, for something like that wasn't bad. But anyway, so you can see that I have gone and got some 20-foot 8-inch C-purlins, and these are going to become the structure for my roof span. So, you know, those purlins will actually, they're going to run this way, and then the roof panels, the R panels, you know, will run this way. But my walls, I'm going to frame those all up with 2x4s, because I want to insulate it, and I don't want to do spray foam. I'm probably going to do the foam board or something like that. You know, so I want to have 2x4 framing, and just to mount the lights, and, you know, all those kind of things. When you have you know, the standard construction that these metal buildings use, you know, with the C-purlins, there's lots and lots of open space that you can't really attach anything to, which is kind of an advantage, because you know, it's a lot less material and a lot less work to bolt one of these together. but I think for this paint booth, you know, my exterior walls are going to be 2x4, you know, probably on 24-inch centers, and then these guys here, I'll have I got 7 of them. There'll be 2 of them going this way, and then 5 of them going that way. That'll both, you know, sit up on top of it, and that'll create an open span. It's 18 feet this way, 18 feet that way, and I got 20 footers. So anyway, hopefully Craig is watching this, or if not, he can catch the live feed of what I covered. I'll take you inside the shop here just to kind of let you see what's going on. Not a lot actually that you haven't really seen on video. A couple of days ago, I had a job come in from the company that makes the dump trucks, and so that was a nice little job and got me a paycheck for the week. And you see the stuff still left on the table from that. It's a lot quieter in here, all that traffic out there. But one of the things that I forever have not done is in the living area, you know, never finished those concrete countertops. And this tongue and groove pine wood that I had left over from all the just the small little offcuts, I took a bunch of those and glued them up, and I got, you know, a ton more of them over here. Well, just the scraps. But anyway, so I ended up making countertops out of these because I, A, don't have any money to buy nicer materials with, and B, I already had this, and it kind of fits the theme because this is the same wood that's on the walls. And you see the rest of the countertops here, 2 other pieces. I made it in 3 pieces, and they're going to join together with you know, 8-inch thick flat bar, which kind of ties into the theme. But what this is I did this last night and this morning. I have 2 coats on it, and this is bar top epoxy. With this being pine, it's not obviously very durable, and it's very, very subject to moisture. And I wanted to really get it sealed up completely all the way around. So, you know, especially the end grain edges. And now this stuff is seems to have worked really well so far. I'm happy with it. This is from Amazon, and this is a gallon kit. It's 2 half gallons. It's a 1-to-1 mix. And they actually had some really good instructions. The only other time I've used this bar top epoxy was I bought the the stuff they have at Home Depot, and I think it's a pint kit, and it's like $39, and this is a gallon kit, and it's $54, so a huge savings. And I think I'm gonna have enough. I don't know, I may need to get 1 more of those to get this part of it finished, but this will work out well for me in there. And while I had, you know, some extra time here and there in the evenings, I've been working on this. And so as soon as this one's dry here in a little while later today, I'll get these other ones up here and work on that. But anyway, I've bid on a few jobs that are a combination of fab and plasma, so hopefully I'll get some of those in here in the next few days and get a paycheck on that. Oh, I mentioned about the college team flags. Of course, I'm from the state of Alabama, and so there's all the Bear flags cut out with just some tears and things. And the Egomouse helped me with this a little bit, but honestly, some of what he did, it looked good, but I didn't like some of the design. The guy does awesome work, but I just ended up making a few changes on my own. So I got Auburn and Alabama to start with. So if any of my Alabama peeps are watching this and you're an Auburn or Alabama fan, keep a lookout. I'm going to have those painted up, but luckily I don't have any orders right now for anything to be painted. So hopefully I can get this, get my paint booth up and going before in the next week or 2, you know, get this thing thrown up, get the wiring done, get my fan mounted, and get the exterior walls on it, you know. And it's not going to be perfect, but then I can work on the interior walls, get the insulation and all that done after the fact, but at least get it up good enough to paint on it, to paint in it. And it'll be as good as the body shop I was renting, because their booth, you know, had tons of holes, and, you know, just, it was not sealed up. And even the doors where the filters were you know, had all kinds of gaps and things, and you know, you can rest assured it was, the fans were sucking in dirt and dust from the outside through those gaps instead of pulling through the filters, you know, to keep the trash out of it. And the paint jobs came out decent. You know, I definitely would get some trash here and there in it, but anyway, hopefully between these two live feeds, Craig can get the information that he needs. Again, it's Eurochem is the paint products that I use. And guys, if you just joined us here, I was talking about the paint products and also some bad news on a couple different fronts with my truck and financial situation. And I'm not asking for help or anything. I'm just kind of letting you guys know what's going on. And if you could hit the thumbs up button on this, I'd appreciate it. It helps me out a tremendous amount when you hit the thumbs up button on a live feed. So if you watch anybody else's live feed, definitely give them a thumbs up. You know, it'll just help the channel, help the videos. So that's all I'm asking for. Let me look at the laptop and see if you guys have any questions here. All right, I see Craig's on there. Hey Craig, I'm glad you were able to join. And hopefully between the two live feeds, you'll be able to piece together. I had some difficulty getting the live feed going, and YouTube seems to be having an issue. I shoot the live feeds on my phone and using the 4G signal. And normally it is, you know, I got full bars outside, you know, so I'm not sure what was up with that. But let me see if there's any questions. Yeah, JC Smith, they said the next two things that that probably I'm going to need within the next 100,000 miles are injectors, and also they said I was going to need rockers. No, I'm sorry, lifters. They said that they use hydraulic lifters out of a small block Ford is what's used in those trucks, which was just, I mean, you would think with you know, cylinder pressures and all that a diesel creates with the you know, the compression ratio would put a lot of pressure on those rockers, and I don't know how they can use hydraulic roller rockers, but I guess they do. Yeah, hey, Leonard Shannon, appreciate you watching, man, and I appreciate you guys supporting me and giving me the thumbs up and encouraging me to keep going, and you know, because it's just, this is the real world, this is how life goes, and it just so happens that one of the main things I need to run my business, my truck, you know, was down, and you know, the Metal Art orders coming in have dropped off quite a bit. I've not really, I think it's been about a month ago since I've gotten any order for a Metal Art piece. And I've gotten the metal bender kit still, I get an order trickling in, you know, one or two of those here and there. The plans for the metal bender and the hole punch, I still get those. And I've had some local jobs, and I need to get out and market more to local companies, because honestly, the profitability on the local jobs, the fab jobs, and specifically the plasma cut parts for local companies, it's a money maker. It's way more profitable than, and less work than the Metal Art. The Metal Art is one of those things where, you know, when you think about the cost of the material, the cost of the paint, and then the amount of labor that it takes to produce it, you know, when you divide all that out by how much you're actually making off of it, it's not a lot of money. And I don't do it on a production basis. Some of this stuff, the flags and all, there's become companies out there that are doing these on a production basis, and they're powder coating them. And I know you can get some pretty nice finishes with powder coat, but I don't think you can get them as nice as with automotive paint. And I kind of make them one at a time, you know, and sometimes I'll make 2 or 3 flags at a time, but for the most part I do it one at a time, and it's not efficient, you know, and you just because, and it's going to help getting the paint booth here at the shop. It'll help a lot, and I'll have my independence. But let me tell you more bad news about that. the guy that I was renting the booth from said, you know, when he told me that I could no longer use it, he goes, I'm gonna pack up all your stuff and I'll bring it to you. And that was a couple of days ago, and I hadn't heard from him. So I went by there yesterday. I still have a key to it, and all of my stuff was gone. You know, they had a shelf set up in there for me to mix my stuff on and store all my stuff. Every bit of it was gone. And I keep 3 paint guns there that are probably, if I had to replace them, it'd be about $1,200 for all 3 of them, including the new Iwata LPH 400 that I just got. And so I called him and texted him, and he's yet to respond. That was yesterday, and today's Sunday, and I've yet to hear from him. You know, I'm hoping that he's packed it all up. He just hasn't brought it to me yet. He's a really good guy, and I don't think he would intentionally, you know, do anything to me. But there's a lot of paint over there too. There's probably $1,000 worth of paint. I got just a brand new, actually 2 brand new gallons of clear, a lot of candies, a lot of bases, primers. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. I mean, there's probably at least $2,000 worth of materials and my guns over there that I need to get over here. But anyway, I'll be making some videos on the paint booth. I've already got 1 or 2 videos so far on the slab. I just have not edited them and uploaded them. But I'll have some really short, crisp videos in several parts on the build of the paint booth. And you might see some things like this live feed and, you know, get a little bit of behind the scenes on it. So anyway, I'm gonna take one last look at the comments, and then we'll end it. You know, on the high pressure pump, they said that those pumps fail in different ways, and one of them that they fail, you know, is they sort of internally come apart. JC Smith was leaving a comment about it, and definitely would put shrapnel through the system, and you would see it all through your system. And in fact, Ford, one of the things that they quoted was a flush of the entire system, and the guys at Diesel Techs, the independent shop, confirmed that as well. But they also can fail in other ways that they don't internally come apart. You know, the regulator can go out on them and cause them, you know, to elevate the pressure, and you know, just different things can happen. And they confirmed that there was no metal or shrapnel or anything in my fuel lines or anything in the system. So you know, hopefully nothing had, you know, ever came apart in it. And honestly, I got to admit that it, you know, I limped on this thing for about a year, and every rare once in a while when I would crank it up, I'd get a check engine light on it, but it would go away, and I just never checked it, because it would come on for a, you know, a little bit and it would go away. It would be like once every 2 weeks, and I don't know, it was running good. The only issue I noticed is that at heavy loads in high gear on the interstate, you know, if it needed to drop down and really load up the turbo and all that at a high speed, it just had nothing. It would just sort of, it wouldn't fall over on its face, but it definitely had no get up and go about it. It would slowly accelerate. That was the only thing I noticed. And so I put fuel filters on it. I did, you know, a few different things, you know, but it was really my fault. And it was that way for about a year. And so those guys confirmed that the rockers good, you know, looked good, sounded good. Not the rockers, the lifters, and confirmed that the injectors seemed fine. So hopefully I don't have to get back in there and do the injectors. If I do, that's going to be a killer. And the next thing I'm probably going to do is the DPF on it, is to take the DPF off and completely gut it. They've got a program they can put in there for me, and he's offered to do this for free. If I gut the DPF, they'll put the program in it for free, and that'll give me some better fuel mileage, and also just some longevity out of the engine, you know, just less back pressure, and you know, should help it along a little bit. Let me see if there's any other comments. Yeah, I mean, I know the newer you know, EcoBoost trucks and all are in the gas line are definitely you know, probably a better way to go. And but you know, I'm in a tough spot with this thing, because its value is still, you know, kind of in the $12,000 range, because the diesels definitely hold their value up there. 150,000 miles on it now, and I bought it brand new. I'm a one owner of it, and it is a 2008. I bought it in November of 2007. So, you know, it's just about 10 years old, and you know, 150,000 miles in 10 years, so 15,000 miles a year, and it's in good shape. You know, the bed's kind of gotten rough here with me hauling steel and so forth in it, but the inside of it's still pretty nice. I mean, it needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but the leather seats and all, you know, are pretty nice in it, and you know, it's not ratted out or anything. It does have some hail damage on it here and there that probably needs to be fixed, but anyway, guys, I'm gonna give it another minute or two. If anybody has any questions or anything they want me to go over, I'll be glad to do that, and if not, I'll just go ahead and end the live feed. Well, it's always good to have Brian Block, you know, joining in and telling me that the truck I own is one of the biggest money pits that you could ever own. And, you know, this is coming from a guy with a big Dodge, so old school Dodge at that. But, I mean, I think all of the new ones with the DPFs and all the emission stuff, and when you raise the hood, just the inability to get to things is it's unreal, you know. But I know the Fords, especially the I think the 6.0 and the 6.4 are probably the worst. And this was the first year for the 6.4. They ran it for 3 years, and I think the 6.7s I've heard are better. Even these guys that work on them, you know, at the diesel shop said that. But it's just a killer, you know. I mean, when they do break, it's just so expensive. You know, if you can't work on them yourself. And you know, I think what I need is some other way of going, and you know, and just if I need to work on it, just work on this myself. My son Matt, you know, is a diesel mechanic, but he works on Dodges, but I'm sure he could probably help me figure stuff out. If I need to do it injectors or anything in the future, the killer is just the cab has to come off for any kind of motor work. Anyway, I'm just checking out the questions on the live feed. I got my laptop out here, as you can see. I think I'm going to end it, guys. This thing's getting on, you know, pretty long here. And again, if you could just hit the thumbs up button for me, I'd appreciate that. It helps a lot. And but I've got 2 or 3 more videos in the works. I'll be uploading in the next day or two from just regular projects in the shop. So check those out. Paint booth, I'll be starting on that. I should be starting on that tomorrow, actually. I've got a couple of little jobs I need to knock out. I just got some 3x3x3/8 angle iron to get my metal bender kit shipped out. I've had 2 orders come in for those, and I've ran out of those, so I just went and picked up a stick of that so I can get those orders out the door. I don't know if one guy ordered one yesterday or a couple days ago, so I don't know if he's watching, but I'll get yours out in the morning first thing. And then once I get that done, I'm going to Home Depot to get some 2x4s to start the framing. And you saw I've got the C-purlins out there. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys think. I'll probably do a live feed maybe Monday night, tomorrow night, or Tuesday night, or whenever I get some progress done, and kind of show you what I'm doing and get your feedback along the way if you see anything, you know, that I'm doing wrong here on this. But anyway, guys, I'm going to let you go. Hit the thumbs up button, and I'll see you real soon. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.